It's time for the Property Podcast, where every week tens of thousands of property investors, new and experienced, join together to get news, knowledge and laughs at our expense. With me, Rob Bence.
And me, Rob Dix. Join us every Thursday morning for your weekly dose of property ideas and motivation. Then head over to our website at thepropertypodcast.com to keep the conversation going. Now though, let's get started.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas! Santa Father Claus Rob here. Santa Father Claus... Anyway, I'll stop. Rob, happy Christmas. How are you?
And the same to you, Rob. I am very well, thank you. And to you, dear listener, very happy Christmas. If you're listening to this actually on Christmas Day, stop. Go and spend time with your family. Stop listening to us. Or maybe you're doing it to get away from...
No, don't. Carry on and please tell me, because that'd be absolutely fantastic to know if someone's listening to the podcast on Christmas Day.
If you've got a sneaky earphone in during Christmas lunch, respect to you.
Yeah, extra bonus points for that.
Maybe you're getting away from your family with us. If you are, then we really appreciate it. But if you're listening at any point in the future, we appreciate it just as much. So it is Christmas Day, but we've got to have a podcast. We haven't missed a week in 93 weeks. You think we're going to stop now? We're going to just do a quick one, though, because, you know, you've got better things to do. But we're going to be talking about our personal reflections from 2014. Some of the things that have happened to us and what a year it's been. Due in no small part to you, it must be said, and that's why we thought we should share these reflections with you.
Yes, so a couple of key points. As Rob said, what we're talking about is because of you, so thank you, and Merry Christmas if you're listening to it on Christmas Day. So thank you for that. I think this is a good thing to do. If you are catching this before the end of the year, and even if you're breaking into the new year now, take a time. I do this every year with my family, my wife, and I look back on the things we've achieved that year, because we've set our goals out, and you know, it's very rare we'll do all of them. It's not a time to focus what didn't happen. It's a time to focus on what did happen and all the things you have achieved. Because you know what? It's incredible how much you can do in a year. But unless you just take that pause, that stop and go, what have we done? And almost give yourself a pat on the back. It gives you that energy to then refocus and go, right, next year, let's go. This episode... You know, please forgive us if you think it's a self-indulgent. It's just a quick episode on some of the things Rob and I have done, and we thought we'd just make it public and share it with you. So we would have this conversation privately, so we're just making it public because it's Christmas Day, something a little bit different on some of the things we've achieved this year. And Rob, I think we have to start with the Property Hub, because a year ago today it didn't exist.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that, really. 9th of January it started, so it's still under a year old. And we've now got probably about 2,000 members in there, and thousands of posts, and so much value that's been created. None of it thanks to us, all of it thanks to the listeners of this podcast who've become members of the Property Hub and have been adding huge value to each other by asking questions, answering questions. There are some absolute super contributors on there who we've got an enormous amount of gratitude and respect for. But there's also people who've just popped in and asked one question. If it's something that they were thinking, chances are lots of people were as well. So putting it out there and giving everyone the chance to have a discussion, that's really valuable. So the Property Hub is something that we worked very hard to set it up, but really the hard work has all been done by people like you. So thank you for making that into the absolute monster that it's become already. And that's something that we're grateful for every day, because it's just been so good to see that growing.
It has. The growth's been incredible, so thank you. And we'll throw even more energy into it next year. So if you're happy to throw some energy in, everyone, we will too. Let's make the Property Hub the best property forum out there. We say it's the friendliest, and so far, I'm pretty sure we can say that with confidence. It's the friendliest forum out there. Everyone's so nice to each other. That's the culture we wanted, but it wouldn't have happened unless you made it that way. So thank you.
And so is that the biggest thing of the year, you'd say? Or... anything else we've done?
I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to know what the biggest is, because, of course, there was yellow lettings.
Yeah, and that was certainly a huge amount of work to get started. I remember when we announced that, and I remember being really nervous about when we announced that, because, I don't know, we just didn't know how everyone was going to react to this. But then I remember all the emails that came in on the day that the podcast aired when we first talked about it, and everyone wishing us the best and everything. That's been absolutely brilliant. The support we've had has been great. And also the landlords who entrusted us with their property in the earliest days, like a real leap of faith on us. And we haven't done everything right. It's been a lot of work. We've got a lot more right than we've got wrong, but we haven't got everything right. But people have been very patient with us as we've been refining things to make sure that we do an even better job. that's been a real education in so many ways. It's been a heck of a lot of work, but really rewarding. And we're really committed to doing something extremely special with this, and just not just being better than most letting agents, because that is not hard, but being a truly great customer focused company.
Yeah. That's the standard we want to reach, and we're going to make sure we get there because it's important to us. Everything we do, we want to set really high standards, and Yellow Lettings is no different. And if you're interested in the journey of Yellow Lettings, Rob puts a blog together every month of what we've done that month. So how many properties we've got on board, our wins of that month, our challenges. It's very, very transparent. Probably shock a lot of people about how much we talk about and how transparent we are. Again, something new in the industry, something that's not done. But we know that people have really enjoyed reading about our journey and how the company's growing. So follow that journey with those monthly blogs. You can find them at thepropertyhub.net/blog.
So amid all that, it's easy to forget that we also launched another podcast, which would, any normal year would be a big event in itself, but I almost forgot about it. But we launched the Property Investment Tips podcast this year. And the idea with this was that we realized that there was loads of absolutely brilliant content being created on the Property Hub blog. Lots of it not by us, lots of it by our guest experts who contribute their content every single week. And we wanted to get that out to a wider audience. So with the Property Investment Tips podcast, all we do is read out what they've written. Some of it is written in-house, but some of it comes from people with all different perspectives on the property industry. So you get to hear opinions other than ours. We've had some really good reactions to this one as well. A lot of people who couldn't find time or it just wasn't in their routine to read a blog, but they'll happily listen to a podcast. And they're all really short. It's only about sort of 7 to 10 minutes long. But people are finding those really useful. So if you haven't checked out the Property Investment Tips podcast yet, just go to thepropertyhub.net/pit, pit as in PIT, Property Investment Tips, and you'll see all the episodes there. Subscribe on iTunes because it's a really easy way. If you've just got a quick 5 minutes, even while you're doing the washing up or something, you can learn a really interesting new idea.
And if that wasn't enough to keep us busy, we gave you 24 hours worth of free content. How? Well, for the podcast. As you know, we don't stop on Christmas Day. So every single week we launch something. So 52 episodes a year. So 52, if we do half hours each episode, then 26 hours worth of content to be precise. So that's a lot of property knowledge, a lot of property information. I mean, you could probably take about 10 hours of that away for bad jokes, but nevertheless, there's still a lot of property content in there. And, we love the podcast. Everything else we've talked about is because we started with this. We turned on the microphones and started to talk about property. And everything else has come because of the podcast. So, the podcast will always remain the closest to our heart, and we're not going to stop anytime soon because we really enjoy it. And the feedback we get is just incredible. So, the podcast we have to mention because the Property Hub, Yellow Lettings, Property Investment Tips would not have happened without the podcast.
Yeah, and everything that else has been going on, without fail, something we've done every week is turn on the microphone and record a podcast, and it's come out every single Thursday. And I'm really glad that it has, because it's one of my favourite parts of the week is recording this podcast. It's just so much fun, and we've had all these great reviews and all these things back from people saying how it's made a real difference for them. It's really inspired them to move forward, and that's absolutely brilliant to hear. For me, I imagine it's the same for you, Rob. One of the things that we've talked about the most this year, which felt like a real pivotal moment actually, was when we talked about the 18-year property cycle. Yeah,
that's up there with one of the most, or we actually did 2 podcasts on this subject. 2 of the most important podcasts we've done. People often talk to us about, the goals podcasts or the inflation podcast. You want to think so, inflation. But so many people comment on the inflation podcast and the 18-year cycle podcast. And next year, we've put a lot of plans together on some more epic posts. But this year, certainly, the one that seemed to have got the most attention from our community, from the people giving us feedback, was the 18-year cycle. If you're new to the podcast, and especially if this is your first one and you listen on Christmas Day, that's a bit, maybe you've got a new iPhone and you just had to listen to something. Well, hopefully you'll stick around. And if you do, go back and listen to the 18-year property cycle, because those 2 episodes were very, very popular. And I think rightly so, because a lot of people gained a lot of value from them.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll link to those episodes in the show notes for this episode, which are at thepropertyhub.net/2014 reflections, 2014 reflections. So that is not a bad year, I would say, Rob. And this isn't the only stuff we've got going on. You've got your own business. I've got mine. We've got quite a lot done this year, but we're not going to be relaxing. There's plenty more to come next year. It's an almost terrifying amount. So that's what we're going to be talking about next week. What to expect from us in 2015. Yes, New Year's Day, but that's not going to stop us doing an episode either. We're going to get one out on New Year's Day as well. I don't know what's more of an achievement if you're listening to us on Christmas Day or listening to us through your New Year's Day hangover. Hope you can join us because it's just going to be another quick one, but we're really excited to share some of the things that we've got coming up. And everything that we do because we think it's going to be beneficial and it's going to be interesting to everyone. So we're really grateful for the part that you've played in everything we've done this year, and we hope that you'll get involved in everything that's coming up next year as well.
Absolutely. 2014 has been a vintage year, individually and the stuff we've done together, Rob. It's been absolutely fantastic. So we've got a real challenge on our hands to make 2015 exceptional and come close to 2014. But we love a challenge and we love getting things done. So tune in next week to find out what crazy, big, audacious plans we've got for 2015. Because I promise you, we are not thinking small.
We are not. So thank you so much again for joining us today. If you want to check out all the links that we've talked about, you'll find it in the show notes, which are thepropertyhub.net/2014 reflections. Have a fantastic Christmas day, take a well-earned break, and join us next year to start focusing on 2015. We'll see you then.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the Property Podcast. Make sure you join our mailing list at thepropertypodcast.com.
And remember, we love 5-star reviews. Rob even loves them more than air miles.